during these technical interviews, some of them have asked me to do a full valuation process for company X, but unfortunately, that wasn't really offered like in my university. It wasn't an option to any of us. Like, it's not even part of the pure finance program in our university. So I thought that I have to look for external sources.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the CFI Member Spotlight, where we sit down with real learners from around the world and share their unique stories behind their success. Today, I am joined by Soliman Abbas, an investment banking analyst at HC Securities, a recent graduate of the University of Bristol, and newly minted FMVA holder from CFI. So Solomon's journey into finance has been shaped by a variety of experiences, from early roles in sales to internships, virtual programs across banking, private equity, and trading. And he's really steadily built up his skills and industry knowledge. So in this conversation, we're about to talk about how he navigated the first steps after graduation, how he sought on that hands-on experience that everyone requires, and his approach to staying motivated while keeping a great positive perspective. So welcome, Soliman, to the show.
I'm Jan. Thank you very much for this lovely introduction. And I've been really looking forward to this podcast for like weeks, I guess. Really excited
Yeah.
to start. Yeah.
So let's dive right in. So I know where you did your undergraduate degree, and you did it in economics. But I'm wondering, did you get an interest in finance earlier on in your life? Did you have any family influences? Did you have someone around you that worked in the industry? How did you first get your interest?
So I guess the first time that I was really interested in finance was in my first year of uni. Uh,
Okay.
so of- yeah, so um, like the course that I chose to get enrolled in was economics and management, actually, where it was very diversified when it comes to the number of modules or the diversification of the amount of things that I get to learn, including economics, business management, finance, accounting, marketing. So it was basically a small bit of everything. And I think that starting from the first year, when I first started talking with my flatmates or my colleagues from the same course, from economics and finance, economics and accounting, I got to see uh, their perspectives in life. What are the dreams? What do they aspire to become after uni, after finishing those 3 years of uni? And I reached the conclusion that finance is actually it's an industry where you can get to learn things like each and every month. It's always changing. It's always evolving. Like the number of skills that I would just try to develop from finance, it's way more than economics, way more than business management and other sectors. So I've started, going to these society meetings, which was mainly the banking and investment society. I got to speak to, like-minded people who are really interested and curious to become, tomorrow's leaders in finance. So after that, I started reading books about finance. I've started talking to lecturers, professors in finance, and I found it really interesting, like an interesting thing to pursue, or like an interesting career to pursue after graduating. But then I came to realize how important it is to start, building my CV, adding experience, adding internships, certifications. And I think since year one, uh, I was able to develop some of these skills, talk to people in networking events related to finance, getting really to know how can I break into finance, especially investment banking.
And were you an international student at the University of Bristol?
Yes, I was an international student coming all over from Egypt to the United Kingdom to study at the eighth best university in the United Kingdom, which is called the University of Bristol.
And the reason why I ask that is I know that we have a very global audience, and I think it's really important to appreciate that being an international student is not easy. Um, it typically means that you are, what is it, when you start university? Are you 18? I forget. I forget
Yes,
when we
I
start
was.
university, but we're quite young. And
Yeah,
to be
I was
going
17.5 actually.
Yeah, exactly. Be like turning 18, leave your family, the country that you're familiar with, go to somewhere that is completely new, and all of a sudden have to start thinking about, okay, like, like someone, either you're paying or your parents are paying, or there's a debt involved for this university. You have to make the experience worthwhile. It's only like 3 or 4 years, then you have to get a job. But in order to get a job, they want you to have work experience. So where do you start? And I think it's important to appreciate that if you are an international student, there's a lot of, I think, a lot of quick maturation. Like you have to become very mature very quickly because you don't necessarily have that family and support system right next to you right away. So I think that's something that I really wanted to highlight with you is that you left your country, went to University of Bristol, and already you're thinking about, okay, like I want to do well in these courses. I want to find people that are like-minded where we could learn from each other, support each other, and join the university associations, get that internship. You're thinking about all of this right away, which I think is also like it's the beginning of a long journey, but it's really important, I think, to recognize how much effort goes into that and how quickly you need to mature from it. So basically, I just want to make sure, like, I'd want to say, like, great job on doing that. It's not an easy thing to do. And I know that after you graduate, it also becomes very stressful because as an international student, you have only a certain amount of time to get a job, to renew that visa, etc. Um, and so when you were at university, how did you find your very first work experience? Because I find that, that's a long time ago for me, but I remember it was like, oh man, like even the internships that you apply for, they're, generally open. You'll talk about how certain internships are like really great for the very first ones. But typically, I remember when I was looking for internships, they always wanted people that were on like their second or third internship potentially. And it was so hard to get that very first one because they always look for work experience. How did you go about that?
Well, I think that basically the just building the first floor of any building is usually the hardest. Like when you're just a
Oh, I
first year
love that
student,
analogy. I've never heard of it, but I love it.
like usually first year students, they barely have anything on their CVs. It's very hard to differentiate between one another as like freshmen or like fresh students. So it's always the toughest time where you just try to prove that you actually you're worth having this internship or this experience. So it's mainly like I think that the recruiters at this stage or like the specific internships that I applied for, I mainly relied on my passion and my dreams that I want to achieve at such a young age. So yeah, I basically think that my net worth at that time was my age. Like recruiters finding someone who is 17.5 years old or 18 years old who is just as passionate, I think, as myself. Someone who really wants to learn, wants to develop, wants to know the key fundamentals of breaking into finance, investment banking, private equity. That's how I was able to kind of convince them to give me like even a short internship. So I think during my first like the summer between my first and second year of uni, surprisingly, something that I still can't believe until now, I've completed 3 internships related to finance. The 3 of them were like based in Egypt. One was finance and accounting in a startup. Another one was in private equity in one of the 3 top investment banks in Egypt. The third one was in a corporate bank. So I think during each and every one of these internships, I was able to demonstrate my passion and my skills, that I want to learn even more about the industry. Like, even though I was just a first year student, we only knew the fundamentals, the basics. We didn't really know much about the skills needed, the valuation process that's needed in investment banking. For example, the technical interview questions, how can I ace them? All of these things, I just wanted to learn at that time. I wanted to prepare myself for the second year of uni, third year, like the next stages. Like, I know that I was only on level 1 at that period of time, but I wanted to know, what skills do I require to have in order to jump to level 2, which is like a more kind of intense internships in that field. And these kinds of fields and industries and jobs, I think it's super important to just start early on in your career. Like, it's not, I guess people who are just maybe in their mid 20s or late 20s, it's much more difficult for them to break into investment banking and private equity, for example. So yeah, I think that's basically it.
And so, what was your final internship before you graduated? And how was that experience like for you at the time? Because I get the sense that you are very intentional about the choices that you make, the internships that you go after. Probably every kind of chapter of your life you treat as a learning opportunity. A great phrase that a friend of mine and CFI collaborator Paul Barnhurst has used is he thinks it's really important that people keep in mind the idea of skill stacking, especially
Mm.
today where everything is so competitive, information is so easy to access. It's so important to be like, okay, like I currently have a university degree from a great university. I'm slowly building internships that are leading to the path that I want to go down. How do I make myself, stand out amongst peers? How do I make more improvements along the path that I travel to have more and more skills that are suited for the role? And so you are skill stacking from like day one in university. What was your last internship like for you?
So I think the last internship that I had, it was in private equity. This is really when I came to realize how important it is uh, to just learn the fundamentals of the valuation process, whether it's DCF valuation, trading comps, or even the precedent transactions. At that period of time, I was in my second year. We barely had any, modules or courses that were related to valuation. So that was the challenge here. I didn't really know what to do in order to be able to, learn the basic skills of valuation. We've only learned accounting. We've only learned, corporate finance, but we haven't really kind of engaged in, Excel spreadsheets. We haven't really gone through sophisticated formulas and all of these valuation process that we go through. So here's the time where I came to realize certificates like FMVA are super important and it's worth the investment at that period of time. Uh, so like during that time, I've gone through a lot of interviews with heads of investment banking, private equity, applying for graduate roles because our uni was basically 3 years, so there wasn't like much time to kind of to do like loads and loads of internships. Even though I did, but we only had 2 summers in
And I
between
want to
our
ask was
university.
so I think you were in university as coronavirus was kind of peaking and then tapering off. Were you doing were any internships like in person in office 100% of the time?
Yes, like I think
Oh,
all of them were in person. Luckily, they were in
okay.
person, so I get to kind of network with my colleagues, with the heads, with my coworkers. So I think that's a huge advantage, like that I really enjoy more than just the virtual one. So just going back to the question that you asked, I think the FMVA certification has helped me a lot to. It was mainly a bridge between the theoretical part that we got to learn from uni and the practical part. So over there, in the 16 or the 17 modules, uh, I think most of them I've used in interviews, like even if it's a small bit of every module or every course, it helped me understand the practical side. How can I balance, a balance sheet, the assets, liability, and equity? How can I do that? It was basically the answer. All of the answers that I needed for the questions were found in the FMVA. It helped me a lot, even in landing my graduate role in investment banking.
Yeah, and that's so great to hear because for me, when I'm showing a little bit of my age here. When I was in university, there was nothing like this. There was no FMBA. There was no
Yeah,
real online learning path. There were blogs, and like very simple websites that talked about what the interview process is like. But largely for me, I then this was before Amazon. I had to go and buy a book, like a published physical book about careers in investment banking and just careers at an
yeah,
investment bank. So not necessarily in, M&A transactions or industry group coverage, but to also learn about, at an investment bank, there's also capital markets, there's
mhm,
ECM, DCM, syndication. And so
absolutely.
that's how I went about my research. But I remember going through the interview process and prior to that doing internships. And a friend of mine, he did his internships. He did his first one or second one at Merrill Lynch, back when it was
Mhm.
Merrill Lynch.
Yeah,
And I just remember him being like, "Okay, so like what do I bring with me on day one to work?" He was at a trading desk.
yeah,
He's like, "Do I bring a book?" And we were just kind of laughing, like, "Well, obviously not." But at that point, it was the reality that everything that we learned in school, and we were in a finance program, we were learning like good background knowledge that was very relevant to the role, but
yeah,
we were not ready to be like operational on day one.
mhm,
We had no exposure really to Bloomberg. We had no idea that there were going to be all these turret phones everywhere, and certainly we just had done very insignificant work in Excel or in PowerPoint. And so to hear someone say that FMVA was a really great condensed practical warm
absolutely.
up to the real world is so so nice to hear because it's stuff that I wish I had. So then after when you graduated, I'd love for you to take us through the experience of being an international student that's looking for full time and eventually you did find your full time role, but take us the in between. How did you navigate that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, it- during my second year of uni, as I told you, it's a 3-year program. So I already have to start looking for graduate programs during the second year or during the middle of the second year. So during the second year, I've applied to hundreds, if not, I don't want to exaggerate, hundreds, thousands of jobs where I was just tracking each and every job on an Excel sheet. Green means that they still haven't, replied to me. Red is with a rejection, and orange is still I'm still in the interview process. So after applying to loads and loads of jobs, and just going into you know tens, if not hundreds, of interviews, especially technical ones, like after each and every technical interview, when I get asked like some questions related to b- like investment banking in specific, like I just get to realize that I still have loads to learn. Like uni is never going to be enough, even it's a top ranked one. It's very important to start looking into these kinds of certifications that would help you bridge the theoretical part with the practical part. Like during these technical interviews, some of them have asked me to do a full valuation process for company X, but unfortunately, that wasn't really offered. Like in my university, it wasn't an option to any of us. Like it's not even part of the pure finance program in our university. So I thought that I have to look for external sources. I have to, delve deeper into valuation, into learning more about DCF, about trading comps, about LBOs, and all of these types of models. So I think after, after going through like loads and loads of interviews, one after another, I got to realize that I'm just improving like after like one interview after another. Due to myself just doing a deep search. It was mainly like using chat gpt, external sources. But then at a specific point at like some interview, one of the mentors or like one of the interviewers have actually recommended the FMVA certification to myself.
Oh, wow.
And this was a game changer to me. I think it changed the entire game. It was kind of a shortcut to achieving my short-term goal, which is to land an investment banking analyst role. Like this interviewer, he really kind of, stressed on the importance of you have to complete that certification. It's gonna be a game changer to yourself, to your career. After that interview, of course, I didn't get accepted at that interview, but at least I got to learn from the experience or the feedback. Sometimes sometimes rejection is redirection. So that FMVA certification was just like, I think the real first step into like achieving my short-term goal.
So one thing that I
So
just
after,
I have to say
yeah,
this is that I find your level of maturity at your, relative to me, young age to be extremely impressive, because I don't think I've heard many people frame the interview process as such a genuine learning opportunity, because typically people go through, especially the first full-time job search process. I mean, I've been through that before, and like still, a decade later, it's something that I don't really love to remember and reflect upon, because it was a very stressful time, right? You feel like you
absolutely.
go through this undergraduate program, you have this one shot to land this investment banking job. If you don't do it, then you have
Okay.
to go to graduate school, and then there's another opportunity there. But whenever you go through an interview process, regardless of how far you make it, if it doesn't give you the outcome that you want, people typically take that as such a personal kind of failure. But to
Yeah,
be able to say, sometimes rejection is the best source of redirection, and then to be able to say each one of those interviews was actually such a great learning opportunity, because chances are
absolutely.
when you take it that way, the next one you're going to do better. You're going to do even better. And I think uh, it's such an astute observation. And to be able to have that at your age, in your current stage of life, I think is not, I don't think it's common, but it's ultimately a characteristic to you that's landed you an investment banking role today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I know that it's not really common that you find like a lot of people at that specific age who have the same mindset. I mean, like midway when I was through that stage of like loads and their series of like interview process, I found it really disappointing. But I just had to kind of fight against my mind and just tell my mind, okay, Solomon, believe me, each and every interview, one after another, you're just improving at least 1%. That's what we call like progressive overload. Like
Yes,
every time you
exactly. In
just
the world
get
of weight
better, right?
training, exactly.
Exactly. Like every time you just get better, you kind of you get exposed to more questions, whether it's behavioral or technical.
Yeah.
You get exposed to more case studies, including DCF value, like all of these skills that we get to learn in the FMBA certification. Even if my first DCF model wasn't perfect, the second time is going to be at least 100, like 1% better, if not more. Like it's again, it's one step after another, and that's I think what was really like the reason why I ended up, achieving my first short-term goal, which is to break into investment banking. Even though again like the chances and the likelihood is really not high, especially in nowadays markets and international markets. It's super difficult to find a job at this field, of course.
And one of the most important things for, I think, a successful career in finance, but
Hmm.
especially in
Yeah.
investment banking, is
Hmm.
mental maturity. I find that it was at least so I was in debt capital markets, so it's very different. It's like a
Hmm.
different-ish area to investment banking, but
Yeah.
the I found that the first kind of 3 years of my career, I did
Hmm.
so much condensed learning. And it was not just like the actual technical job of debt capital markets, but it was, how to connect with colleagues, how to build your network in a way that is genuine and sincere and
True.
really fosters long term relationships, meet the right mentors, how to navigate that very, very corporate atmosphere. All of that requires, I think, a lot of maturity very early on. And so it's not a surprise to me that you were able to persist, find this role, and now be in that dream job of yours. Because in order to get into investment banking, and then not a whole lot of people that I know stay in it for a very, very long time. But let's say you do, you want to do it for the rest of like your career, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It requires a great deal of mental maturity, and I think a good, even keeled, balanced personality, someone that can persist through stress, someone that can withstand rejection, someone that could be wrong in a crowd. I think it speaks to a lot of someone's personality when you have a long career in investment banking. And now that you're in this role, tell us, what is it like versus what you've expected? How are you finding the job? And yeah, tell us how it's been so far.
Well, I think what I expected was a little bit different from from the reality. What I expected was investment banking was basically gonna be this job where you get to meet people who are kind of toxic somehow. Like all of them, like that's what we thought. Like including the Instagram memes, things that are shared on LinkedIn.
In the movie.
Yeah, exactly. All of these types of issues that okay that your heads or your managers are just gonna always bully you
Be
somehow.
totally crazy.
Uh, yeah, absolutely. But when I really got into the field of like investment banking, I thought it's a bit different one. So a bit of a different like side from what I expected. So I think that the my coworkers are really collaborative. Like I think it's uh more of a collaborative thing. So you're only one player in a team, just like in football, just like in soccer, all of these games. So it's really important to kind of collaborate with coworkers, to be able to communicate with them, to be able to become, friends with them, connect with them on a personal level. Because I think investment banking is mainly about, like specifically, it's about communication. It's about being able to communicate with the clients and build a very strong relationship with them that is genuine. Uh, so I'm not going to talk about the technical side, the valuation process, LBOs, M&As. I'm not really going to talk about this. But what I really think is investment banking in reality is it's way deeper than what people think it is. It's it's mainly related to how you'll be able to communicate with the clients and be able to build trust with them. Because at the end of the day, the valuation is just a number at the end. All of these technical things, they're just numbers, but they don't really, have the same impact or the same meaning as being able to build a strong network. And that, like, you get to speak with CFOs, you get to speak to CEOs of companies, of other companies, I mean. You get to meet them in person and try to absorb the way that they think. You try to kind of, learn from them even the basic, things related to the body language that they have, the strategies that they always try to, say in meetings or try to convey in meetings. You try to learn more about their mindsets, how they've actually managed to reach like this level of like being seniors or C levels in top companies. It's more of, I think it's more of a personal development to myself, like looking into the soft skills aspect. I think it's super important. But I think what was kind of different as well, technical wise, was that investment banking, you're mainly just working on Excel sheets and PowerPoint presentations. Like your entire world is just built around, Excel sheets, formulas, shortcuts, and preparing the pitch decks, PowerPoint presentation for investors, creating teasers, which is something that's not easy at all. So you also have to kind of, develop the marketing aspect as well of being able to create a teaser, for example, in investment banking. Like again, that's something unfortunately you won't be able to really learn on like in specific certifications. That's something that you have to kind of
You have to have the deal
observe.
transaction exposure, the industry exposure. That first like 6 years, I think it's
Yeah.
very different now. I think
Mm,
due to the nature of investment banking,
yeah.
the climb is shorter now. When I was in investment banking, it was like 3 years as an analyst, 3 years as an associate,
Mhm.
2.5 years as a VP, and then it was murky waters thereafter. I think it's more like 2.5 years as an analyst now, because
Yeah.
job market is just very competitive generally. But as you said, in that kind of first, I would say, let's say 4 to 6 years, analyst to
Yeah.
associate, you're spending so much of the time getting to understand the nitty gritty technical details of the transaction work, deal
Exactly.
valuation analysis, all of that, and really getting to understand the industry deeply by
Mhm.
supporting the seniors who bring in those deals. And then all the
Yeah.
while, as you're alluding to, really appreciating and understanding that it's not just about the technical analysis. The next step is
Yep.
going to be showcasing your soft skills, your ability to interact with C suite level executives at companies, to
Mhm.
build strong relationships with them that are really founded in genuine trust, and then to bring
Yep.
in business that way. And then when you do, be able to then take all that technical expertise that you've developed and direct that analysis that the analysts and associates help you do.
Yeah.
And so with that kind of outlook, now that you're in the role that like your dream role, what does the next like 3 kind of years look like for you? What do you hope to achieve in the next 3 years if you're to play this podcast back to yourself?
Wow.
Talking
I
to
think it's
future
a lovely
Solomon.
talking to future Solomon. Wow. I think uh, that's a very interesting question to myself. I keep asking that to myself every now and then. Like I think I always look. I always try to plan each year from the beginning. Like from the beginning of 2025, I kind of I have like a small board in my room where I would say, okay, Solomon. So like by the end of 2025, you have to achieve one, two, three, sometimes or four, five, whatever it is. I try to do a specific timeline where I just have to stick to that specific task, the first task. Okay, so I just tell myself I'm gonna have to complete it by the first 3 months of 2025, and so on. So looking to the next 3 years as an investment banking analyst, I'm really trying to like evolve when it comes to financial modeling. I'm trying to become even more of an expert. I mean, I'm not an expert right now, but I'm trying to reach that level. I'm trying to, again, know basically how the whole game of modeling is. I'm trying to look into more advanced financial modeling, whether it's courses, certifications, whatever it is. I'm trying to go through Excel even faster, like just memorize the shortcuts, formulas faster. Like I'm just trying to again keep records of the time where I was just able to go from like cell X to cell Y, for example. I'm trying to see how fast I am to go through Excel, trying to become faster. The third one is I'm also trying to develop the soft skills that are required that you would never be able to learn anywhere else but the job itself. The soft skills, the client relationships, how to actually build a genuine relationship with CEOs, CFOs, and you become someone who they won't really forget. Uh, Fourth thing, again, I'm trying to look into AI and how can AI help me become, help me to like stand out from other candidates at that specific, age or that specific level of entry level like jobs. I'm trying to look into these four main things.
And I have no doubt that you're going to get there because there's something very, and I totally agree with this from a very personal perspective. I did one of those vision boards where I had a friend of mine that works at, she used to work at Lululemon. They go through this exercise where you do this goal setting thing and you don't have to really share it with anyone, but they encourage you to share it with a colleague or a
Yeah.
friend of yours, where you have like your photo and then you put your immediate goals and then your 3, 5, kind of 10-year vision. And there's something I think that's very powerful about writing down the goals that you want to achieve. And then constantly, not like every day, but being able to look at those goals and they're not just living in your head, but they are out there. And I think that really helps you achieve all those goals that you want to, that you set, because you are a walking example of that. You've already done that. And then this is just going to lead me into a fun, like you've already alluded to this. So rapid fire round. These are just some fun questions. Speaking of Excel shortcuts, today, what is your go-to Excel shortcut? The one that you use the most?
The one that I use the most is definitely F4. Like I know it's a very basic shortcut, but I think that's the most useful one because you can just repeat any kind of cell or formula that you've previously done or done like a couple of seconds ago. So it's better than just trying to write the formula again. F4 is just like a huge time saver, I guess. It saves like a lot of time.
Mine was, I remember the first time I learned this during my investment banking analyst training camp that we did for like a week was Alt AQ. And because I was in debt capital markets, there's a lot of data analysis and generally in fixed income and doing advanced data filters and then having ones that were saved that apply to the table itself was just such a hugely used shortcut for me. But yeah, after a while, I think and my colleague Duncan will, as well as Jeff Schmidt, will say this a lot, but the idea of getting used to Excel shortcuts is not because it's like, oh, it's fun and look at me, like, oh, I could just do it without a mouse. But if like you do so much data analysis as an investment banking analyst, if you can make the motions that you physically do to do that analysis, if you could turn that into muscle memory, then all you need to do is focus mentally on doing the analysis. And then your hands just kind of do the motions. And it makes it so much easier, I find. It just makes your productivity accelerate so much more when you're able to take away that physical aspect away from your mental thoughts. And let's see here. Who is your dream mentor, dead or alive?
Does it have to be in the finance field or
doesn't have to be in the finance field?
Okay. I don't know whether you're gonna be familiar with him or not, but he is a popular football player. He's called Mo Salah. He is a Liverpool player.
Now, I am not, I don't know much football, but there's so many listeners that do. So tell us why he is the person that you've chosen.
Absolutely. I mean, if people who are watching they don't really know who's Mo Salah, let's say Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't want to sound, cliche or like just saying something that is just widely common, but there's something really common between these two that I'm really obsessed with. These two, and they work like super hard consistently, regardless of how they feel. Like every single day during the year or during the season or even the off season, like the 365 days a year, they just train. They try to train football, no matter where they are, no matter how they're feeling, whether they're feeling a little bit upset today. Oh, they don't really have energy on that day. Oh, they don't really care about any of these things. They basically train regardless of how they feel, even on vacations. Uh, they just have to train as well. It just becomes an obsession with how much they are obsessed with this game of football. Like it's just a miracle how someone can stay consistent for 20 years, becoming playing on that like in the top level football for 20 or 23 years now. That's such an insane thing to do. Like it just takes I think like a like mental strength. Like the mental strength is insane at that at that level. Being able to always fight against your mind. Like whenever you feel a little bit, oh, I'm tired today, he doesn't care. He just goes up and goes to the gym, for example. For myself, okay, it's to study financial modeling, for example. So again, it's the mindset that really differentiates one candidate from another. Mo Salah, from example, he came from a very poor environment, a very poor city. No one would have ever believed that he would reach that level of becoming basically like he's the like the best right now. He's one of the top three football players in the world. That's insane. He didn't reach that level by like coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence. He basically just worked every single day. He trained. He tried to look at the weak points that he has as a player and as a person, trying to develop it. And each season, one after another, he just again, it's accumulated experience, accumulated, the accumulation of learning from your mistakes. Getting really to observe yourself, sit down for a bit for an hour and try to observe, like, oh, what did I do wrong at that game? Oh, okay, I'm watching the replay of the football match. Oh, I did, like, he would just sit there and observe, what did I do wrong? What am I missing to become the complete or the perfect version that I want? That's exactly what I'm trying to do in that field. I'm always trying to think, how can I become competitive? How can I become better than last year? I try to, I'm a type of person who usually listens more than speaks. I know that this podcast is not really like, it doesn't really show that, but, but I'm a type of person who really likes to listen to other people's experience and to learn from mistakes, their mistakes, not only mine, but to learn from their mistakes and try not to do. Yeah.
And that actually leads to, this is going to be my final question. And this is a little bit more, this is a deep for a rapid fire question. But something that really
Yeah.
stuck with me is when you said rejection can just be some redirection. What is one mistake that you think that you've made that has been a turning point for you? A mistake that you made that you feel like, I'm so glad I made that mistake and I feel like it made me better?
The mistake that I did was not believing that it's all about consistency. It's not. It's just about working every day regardless of how you feel. It's just about believing in the process itself, believing that each and every rejection that comes, it's like each and every interview that you even like enter or attend. It's just a small lesson that you would never realize how important it is, or the importance of the importance of the value of that interview until you actually get accepted on another one, like later on. Like basically that after each rejection, you're just getting closer. You're just getting closer to the acceptance that you really want. So that mistake that I did was that I thought that, going through all of these interviews were like, especially in the early stage, it was just like a waste of time. But absolutely not. I think that if I go back in time, I would really try to make even the most out of each and every interview and keep on asking them questions on how can I make like Soliman like the perfect candidate. What am I missing? What am I missing in order to become the perfect candidate that you need? So yeah, I hope this answers this question.
It
Right.
does. And like, I can't think of a better, like a higher note to end off the podcast in. Solomon, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. You've shown us what's possible when you combine persistence and intentional learning with a mindset for growth. For anyone that's listening, I hope that this has been a really inspirational podcast for you to listen to, because I think it's proof that whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. And this is a little bit delayed, but congratulations on getting you that dream job of yours. I hope it is everything that you have hoped for it to be. And I just can't wait to see where you go next.
Thank you very much, Mion, for this like lovely podcast. I've always been like a follower for you before we even talked about that interview or like that podcast. Like again, I think you're one of the reasons why I found the FMVA certification very lucrative and like full of learning opportunities. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. FinPod is brought to you by Corporate Finance Institute, the #1 rated online provider of finance and banking training, certifications, and productivity tools.